Realistically, how does this end?
I hope that some Democrats in the Senate will wake up and say enough is enough. Let's turn the lights back on and let's get into these vigorous debates about the subsidies and all the rest. That's what needs to happen. That's the only thing that can happen. People say, why aren't you negotiating with Democrats? I literally, Allie, don't have anything to negotiate. I didn't put any of my Republican priorities on the CR, so I can't pull those off and say, gee, is it better now? Can you vote for it? I sent over to the Senate exactly what they voted on the last time, and now suddenly they want to have a political fight. Why? Again, I mean, this is, frankly, this is the truth. Chuck Schumer wants political cover. That's what this is about.
That was just part of my sit down with Speaker Mike Johnson as we're now in day 6 of the government shutdown. The question is, will Senator Schumer and Majority Leader Thune meet today and change any of these dynamics? Also ahead, we'll go through the flurry of moves related to the National Guard and the efforts by the Trump administration to send troops to Chicago and Portland, Oregon. The question is, can the courts keep pace with the administration's moves? Plus, we'll bring you the latest on ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas ahead of a key meeting today in Egypt. The question is, could the end of this conflict come soon? It's way too early for this. Good morning and welcome to Way Too Early, the show that knows what it's like to work through the weekend. I'm Ali Vitale on this Monday, October 6th, and we'll start with the news. The federal government remains shut down this morning with no clear endgame in sight. Republican and Democratic lawmakers remain at an impasse, and House leadership provided few public signs of meaningful negotiations taking place during interviews yesterday.
The last time there was a conversation with Republican leadership was in the White House meeting last Monday, and unfortunately, since that point in time, Republicans, including Donald Trump, have gone radio silent. And what we've seen is negotiation through deep fake videos, the House canceling votes, and of course, President Trump spending yesterday on the golf course. That's not responsible behavior. As Democrats, our view is that we will find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues to reopen the government, to actually pass a spending bill that meets the needs of the American people.
They're not serious. This is not a serious negotiation. They're doing this to get political cover because Chuck Schumer is afraid that he won't win his next reelection bid to the Senate because he's going to be challenged by a Marxist in New York, because that's the new popular thing out there.
Once again, the House won't return to session this week. Last week, the Speaker indicated lawmakers would return only after the Senate passes the continuing resolution that House Republicans already passed back in September. It's a leverage move. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer blamed the lack of bipartisan leadership discussions for this shutdown, something Johnson showed no interest in.
I've encouraged my Democratic members to sit and talk to Republicans. It's always good when Democrats and Republicans talk to each other, but 2 points. First, in those conversations, the Republicans offered nothing. But second, the only way this will ultimately be solved is if 5 people sit together in a room and solve it.
Now he's supposedly claiming that, the 4 top leaders should go into a back room. He quite literally argued that on the Sunday shows this morning, that 4 leaders, the top 2 leaders in both chambers should go to a back room and concoct this and decide all the spending. We're not doing that. That's not the way the system is supposed to work. The reason the system is broken is because leaders in the past, like Chuck Schumer, have done it that way.
But there is supposed to be negotiation and conversation. Meanwhile, President Trump continued to blame Democrats yesterday and said federal layoffs were already happening.
Taking place right now, and it's all because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the loss of a lot of jobs with their, it's a shutdown. It's their shutdown, not our shutdown. It's their shutdown.
I want to bring in senior NBC News national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. John, you heard me ask the Speaker this question. Realistically, how does this end? From where you sit as someone who looks very closely at the dynamics in Congress as well as the White House, it does just feel this week like we're starting off with more of the same. Where is the inflection point for this to turn, to change, or is there one?
One or the other party would have to have its base change its mind. Mm-hmm. Right, Republicans, their base, they're very happy to have the government shut down. In fact, we've seen that time after time over the course of the last 30 years or so. And the Democrats are banking, at least partially, on their reputation for believing that there should be a functioning government and wanting to spend more money on government versus the longstanding Republican reputation for wanting to cut government. Folks may remember Elon Musk standing on a stage with a chainsaw earlier this year, in terms of the desire to cut not only government, but the people who work in it. So, Allie, I don't know what the over-under is in the Capitol, but there does not seem to be any easy endpoint in sight because it's going to be a long time before either the Democratic base or the Republican base decides this isn't what they want. And the idea that Chuck Schumer, and I think that he's influenced personally by the possibility of a primary, his home state politics, but the whole rest of the Senate Democratic caucus isn't worried about an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez primary, and there is very little movement on the Democratic side in the Senate.
I think that you're completely right when you talk about the tolerance between both bases for a government shutdown, because it shows in some way that their side is right, their side is fighting. And I think that there is definitely a permission structure in our politics for that right now. I want to talk specifically about the role that Trump plays in this shutdown, because you'll see a little bit later on Morning Joe, I probed Speaker Johnson a lot about that. But when you talk to your sources in the White House, how are they thinking about this moment, the way that Trump might come in as a deal maker, which we know he loves to do?
I have not heard anybody suggest that Donald Trump is going to come in and say, like, let's have an end to the shutdown. He obviously is enjoying the moment. I mean, you just saw the clip of him there. This is something he wants. It's a fight he believes he's going to win. He has the bully pulpit. The president always has the bully pulpit. It's much easier for him to command attention, even easier than most presidents. So I think he's perfectly happy with this. And in fact, looks to be looking forward to using it as an excuse to do a whole lot of other things that he already wanted to do. For instance, slash the size of the federal government, not just, again, not dollars, people. And one of the reasons the Democrats don't want to vote to give him more money is that his administration continues to use money for things that Congress hasn't appropriated it for, and also to not spend money that Congress has appropriated. So they're kind of like, well, why would we give you another check?
I think that's exactly right. You're hitting on so many of the dynamics here. One of the things that I asked the speaker about, and I want to play this for you and get your reaction on how he answered, was the role that Trump has played in his speakership. I want the control room to just play that for us. Your colleague Thomas Massie, though, has said that you're only speaker for as long as President Trump wants you to be. Does he have a point?
No, he doesn't have a point. We've been demonstrating this over and over. I've been speaker for 2 years now. It's not a job I ever aspired to, frankly. Didn't know I'd have it. But I'm trying to keep steady hands at the wheel in very turbulent times. I'm trying to work with, in good faith, with people on both sides of the aisle, and we've done that. And if there was someone else that wanted to be speaker, I'd hand them the gavel. But right now, we've got to guide the country through these dire straits.
A few different reasons that I ask you about this, because what I heard in the speaker's answer there was, I think this new confidence that he's trying to project of putting distance between his own power on Capitol Hill and the power that President Trump has shown that he exercises specifically over the House Republican Conference. I wonder what you hear in an answer like that. And I think the important thing to note is they changed the motion to vacate rules, I think, thank God for many of us in Congress, because there's always one person who's mad about something. So his job is not imminently in danger. But I thought the way that he was talking about the president there was really interesting.
Yeah, I agree, Allie. It's such an important interview, such a valuable interview.
Thank you.
You did a really good job getting him to open up about his thinking. And to your point about what's important about his thinking is he is trying to establish himself as somebody outside of Donald Trump. Yet Donald Trump is the reason that he's there in the first place. He's the reason that Johnson continues to have the support of the Republican conference. And if Donald Trump chose to pull his support for Mike Johnson would be gone. I do want to note that there are other people that would like to be speaker, maybe not all 435 members of the House, and that Donald Trump's not the only person with a veto over Mike Johnson. There's an election on November 3rd, 2026, and it may be that voters decide that they don't want Mike Johnson to be speaker by throwing Republicans out of control of the House. That said, if he continues to do what Trump wants and the voters choose Republicans to lead the House, he's going to continue to be speaker for as long as he likes.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And I think that we ask later on in that interview about the role that Trump could play in potentially ending this shutdown or any negotiations. But to your point, the White House seems to be relishing this political moment and certainly making hay out of it, both the way the president is speaking about it, the moves that Russ Vought is making out of the Office of Management and Budget, and then, of course, the social media presence that we have all seen many, many times. We are going to see more of this interview a little bit later in our hour, and then the full unedited version is going to come up during Morning Joe. But for now, NBC's Jonathan Allen, thank you. And you've got a really great piece going on about the podcast atmosphere and the way that they're now reacting to President Trump a few months into his term. It's a must read. Great job. Thank you.